Good morning. Good morning. Okay. Welcome to our Leadership Certificate Pilot Program graduation. It's a big day for our participants as well as the HR organizational and talent development team. So I want to say first, it's really a great honor to welcome this morning our CEO, Mona Miyasato. Welcome. We have our ACEOs. I see Matt. I see Terry. Am I missing Jeff? Okay, Barney. Well, welcome. We're still waiting. Our board of supervisors will be here as well today. And of course, our guest of honor, we welcome our LCP graduates and any first-time guest who this is the first time you've participated in this setting. A big and a warm welcome to you this morning. Also, I would like to say it's terrific to see some, I would say, familiar faces that started this journey with us back in February. So thank you for coming back. And I'm seeing some new faces I haven't seen before. So welcome. Thanks, Jeanette, for being here. Vaughn, I see you. So welcome to everyone. There's a quote that really resonate with me, and I want to share it with the group this morning. And it's from Reed Markham. And it says, "Great leaders are prepared for the winds of change." Great leaders are prepared for the winds of change. And so we're very proud of the work of our graduates this morning. Our county departments, 12 county departments participated in this pilot program, and we harnessed them with the skills, tools. Good morning. Welcome. Come on in. The 12 participants who are harnessed with knowledge, skills, tools to unfold new and better results for our organization, one. Number two, to influence employee engagement and alignment with Renew 22 initiative. And the third piece I would say is to inspire our employees to create new ideas and also innovation for the effectiveness of our organization and our business outcomes. So I also want to encourage our participants today to dialogue with our LCP graduates to learn more about the projects that they've been working on over the last 6 months. Ask questions of them. As you look around the room, we have some artwork that actually they were worked on during the LCP retreat. Outside, there's some artwork also on the benches that our graduates worked on, and you'll hear more about the presentation throughout the day. I also want to say a big thank you to our CEO, ACEOs, as well as the Renew 22 committee, and to thank them for supporting this program. The idea got conceived, I think, in 2017, and our OTD team was given the challenge to build this program from the ground up. And so we took the challenge on, we designed the program, we launched the program, and it is successful today because we are at the very tail end of completing the program. Thanks to the expertise and dedication of our leadership, and I would say she's a leadership development expert, June Liggins. She actually ran with the program and executed and worked with our LCP graduates over the last 6 months to take this program all throughout the where we are today. So I want to say a big thank you to June. So what you see today, what you hear today, yes. So what you see today, what you hear today is full of relevance, is full of originality, innovation, and creativity. It's proven that our LCP graduates too are, and I'm going to want you to remember this, and you can hold me to it, they're trend starters. I believe they're pioneers. And I also believe that they are change makers. You should be applauding yourself for that. I believe you are, so you should believe that as well. All to say, we have successfully executed a pilot program that sets the stage for HR OTD team as well as the entire HR division, to take the lead in collaborating with our 23 departments in building the next generation of county leaders here in Santa Barbara. Success, I believe, usually comes from being on purpose, working hard, and exercising willpower. The very talented Diana, Lila is not here this morning, and the gifts of Lila Smith, two of our staff in OTD as well as the rest of the HR department, made an impact which is evident today. They've been working behind the scenes. They've been working a lot of the administration, the logistics. So we want to say a big thank you to them as well. So please join me in saying thank you to them as well. So lastly, the question arises, can we bridge what we've learned over the past 6 months to build the next generation of leaders here at the County of Santa Barbara? I'm thrilled to say yes. We're still collecting data. We're still assessing the data from our participants, our mentors, our coaches, our stakeholders, and we will, for the next couple weeks, assess and make our recommendations to the Renew 22 committee as to what's the plan for launching this program countywide. Two things I'd like to share with us today. We've actually set some specific program outcomes and some of the objectives for the LCP program, two of which I will share this morning that we've achieved already. One, we wanted to see internal promotions. I'm happy to share that Katie Torres, one of our LCP graduates, was promoted during the program, and she'll be working on enhancing existing wellness programs across. It actually has county-wide impact. The second achievement, the LCP graduates actually worked on some process improvements, some projects that also has county-wide impact, and it's also as a result of the Renew 22 initiative. And you'll hear more about the projects today as they share their presentations. And I do encourage us to ask questions of the participants following the presentations. Graduates, thank you guys for your hard work. The hours that you've put into the program, a big thank you. The feedback and all the work that you've done over the last 6 months, thank you, thank you, thank you. But it would be remiss of me if I don't leave you with a challenge. So, I believe you're creating leadership legacy. And as you do, I want you to consider this. Be the leader you yourself want to learn from, serve with, and the leader that you want to see in others. On your leadership gravestone, what's the one thing you want others to say about you? And I want you to think about that as you move forward in building your careers here at the County of Santa Barbara. Welcome, everyone, and enjoy the program today. So let me hand it over to the very talented June Liggins.
Good morning again, and she's probably going to confuse you guys, so I did a name change in the midst of all of this, so it's actually June Mighty, M-I-G-H-T-Y. It's okay.
We forgot, will we take graph? And if you choose not.
Thank you. So we're going to move on with the program, and before I actually get started with my talk, and I'm looking at the LCP participants right now, I want to tell you something. Yesterday was a very challenging day. Usually, I've had several pets over the years, but yesterday my longtime family pet passed away. And so it was really a challenging day, and we were getting prepared for all of this, and by the time I got home, I knew I wanted to make some points, and I thought, okay, I just don't have the emotional bandwidth to do this. But then I decided that I was going to give myself a challenge. As I've always told you guys, you need to be prepared, you need to be flexible. Anyone could call you at any given time to say something, and you just need to be able to drop an impromptu presentation, which I'm about to do this morning. So one of the things I wanted to say in all of this, when we talk about the LCP recap, Leonie mentioned, it did start, yes, In 2017, we started working on this, and this actually is really part of the Renew 22 initiative. And also some components of it is there's a couple of components that we're hitting with this. The retain aspect, where we're looking at retaining top talent within the organization and growing top talent in the organization. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been talking to a lot of our colleagues in other counties, finding out what they are doing. I've been looking at workforce trends, looking at best practices, looking at what's taking place in the public sector, local government, to make sure that we bring the best development tools to our team. And in doing so, I found that some counties are doing some similar things as we are, but in some areas, our program really tops theirs. And I thought, well, ooh, we're doing this and they're doing that, so this is really good. You'll hear more about that as we put together a report, and that will be shared with the CEO and others as well as we move forward. So it really is a great program. We started in February, and Supervisor Hart was with us at the same time, as well as Supervisor Adams. Mona and a lot of the assistant CEOs participated. One of the things I want to tell you is that as we went through the 6-month session, one of the things that these participants and these emerging leaders mentioned consistently was how much they valued your support of this program, and you being here just sustains that. We started strong with your support, and we're ending strong with your support. So please give yourselves a hand, because you are really encouraging the future leaders. Right? And so we had a series of classes that we had planned out. We adapted different types of presentations. We incorporated more presentations from our senior executive team. There are two, not only the two, but there are two that I would like to highlight at this point. Jeff Frapwell did a presentation along with Betsy Schaefer as it related to budget. And they really loved Jeff and Betsy's presentation because it was very practical. And Jeff then went on to talk about, to deliver an awesome presentation that's related to business case, and he did an awesome job. Our director, Von Do Reynoso, did an excellent presentation, facilitation, and transformative experience as it related to cultural humility. She not only talked about the topic, but there was something about the way that she engaged a participant that brought about a level of transparency and connectivity amongst all of us, and it was phenomenal. It really said something to me, and it changed me. I'll never forget that presentation. We also had, of course, our assistant CEO. We had Terry, and Terry partnered with Gina as well, and talk about leveraging communication. So we had a lot of support from our leaders. And so we move on, and we also, this reflects, we were trying to, one of the things that Maria Elena said that she wanted was an integration. She wanted at the end of this that we integrated everything that had been taught and learned. And so we strove to do that with the LCP retreat. I really appreciate the support of Parks and Community Services. We were able to use the facilities at Kachuma Lake, and we had a great time. They had a great time. I think they had a better time than what they thought they would have, didn't you? Yeah. So some of these are just a part of the leadership experience and leadership journey. This mural here really represents your support in addition to what the participants have done. It represents your support. You are key stakeholders in this learning process. So again, this is just a quick wrap up of what they have accomplished. One of the outcomes, as I spoke to Sonoma County, I spoke to Marin County, spoke to Ventura County, spoke to Orange County, and one other that I'm not recalling right now. But even in their programs, we found some similarities, and that is, as they're doing their leadership experience for their group, there is a single outcome that has been transparent across all these counties, including ours, and one of that is synergy. You will learn more about that from Nick Clay, and you'll also see it in the award that's been presented. All our counties that I find that's been consistent as I'm talking to our colleagues is the simple fact of silos. We have silos, ladies and gentlemen. But moving forward, if we're looking at one county, one future, we have to operate with more synergy. This group, I want to tell you, and they will tell you themselves, one of the outcomes that we had not planned for, that we didn't think about, is the synergistic feel among them. When they get together, they have this click, they have this thing going on, and I think they really work well together. You may ask, well, what's the benefit of that? Well, as your future emerging leaders, it's easy to reach across the pond to someone that you have worked with, someone you grew up with in leadership, to say, hey, I'm having this challenge. Let's work together in this particular situation. That's how we move together as one future. That's how we make the changes. That's how we build the resiliency and the sustainability that is necessary to meet the future challenges of today. When we talk about being public servants, that's how we thrive in order to meet the needs of our community, because that's what we're here for. And so even for myself, as I wrap this up and turn this over to Matt Pontus, who's going to introduce his group and the first project, I'll say this. It's important, and I know that many of us have lost the meaning of what it means to be public servants, or some of us really, when we look at our government as a whole, not so much the county, but when we look at our government as a whole, you think that we've lost it and people are more self-serving. But I do believe that we are launching today a group of emerging leaders who understand that, who understands that their purpose here is not just to serve themselves. Just as our elected officials are here and they serve constituents, we serve the county as a whole. And so I do want you to applaud them, because I think they've done great work. And I, for one, believe in them, and they know that I believe in them. And so they've not disappointed me. They've given us really great feedback, which I expected. And I know that they'll be successful in whatever they do. You will hear a theme, all the places you will go. And I'll wrap up at the very end, because, again, I want to share my heart with you. But I also want you to know, again, Mona, you have some great leaders here, and we need to continue to build them up and give them the opportunities to leave, to make those decisions. One of the things that you said several years ago, I think, was that you wanted leaders who could make good decisions and had sound judgment. We need to give them those opportunities to be able to do those things. And so this is the first step. So with that being said, Matt will come up and introduce, as a sponsor for the continuity plan, his group, and then they will come up and do the presentations. Thank you so much.
Thanks, June. That was a great message. It's nice to see everybody here today, although it was a little tricky parking out there, all the streets getting repaired, but that's what we want, right? We want our streets to get repaired, so happy to be able to walk a little further this morning. So thanks for having me this morning, and I get the pleasure of introducing our group, the group that worked on the COOP. For those of you unfamiliar with that term, it's the continuity of operation plans that we have for the county of Santa Barbara. And this is a topic special to me, because it is so important. And I don't know why Mona's laughing so hard. It's special to me because it's kind of a love-hate relationship with my last 26 years or so, trying to make sure that we worked on enough coops so that we would have a great coop, and then on the flip side, trying to maintain the coops has always been a challenge throughout the years. So here in this county, we have a continuity of operation plan, and it is something that we really revise every few years and we look at, because there are changes. When this group approached me on projects, this was a project that not only is super timely to have, but it is incredibly important to have. As a county that serves its community and all of our employees that serve the community, there is almost nothing I can think of more important than the safety and welfare of our communities. So when we have an opportunity to relook at how we do things, this was the perfect venue for that, to put a team together of folks that were going to not only look at the process by which we update that continuity plan, but to have something different, something more meaningful, something that wasn't a binder on a shelf, something that really touched our ability to prepare and to be ready for what our community's needs were. And obviously everyone in this room knows that with the Thomas Fire on 12/4 and on 1/9, the debris flow, our community and our county jumped into action and worked really well together as we moved through the search and rescue to search and recovery portions of that incident. Yesterday, Suzanne and I had a chance to talk to some assembly members and the community about successful relationships with nonprofit organizations. And it was really, really a great forum because we had a lot of our friends and our partner agencies at that forum. They want to use Santa Barbara as a template for how to work with nonprofits around the state. And one of the things we know here in Santa Barbara County is that if we are not prepared as an agency, then we're not going to be able to be out there in those communities serving the public in times of an emergency. So these continuity of operation plans are extremely important. And the team really, as you'll see here in a few minutes, really did a good job at not only looking at how to improve the process, but again, how to make it easier to update, easier to make sure that we have all of those important angles covered. So no matter what the threat is, no matter what the hazard is or the emergency is in our community, these days public safety power shutoffs are the theme of the week, certainly in the last couple weeks, as we look at what kind of impact those actions by the power utilities have on our community members, especially the medically fragile. So we know we can be challenged in this county with a lot of emergencies, very frequent, but we also have some incredible relationships in the community and among our team here in the county. And I think that you're going to hear from our next group how they looked at that process, pulled it together, and have assembled a plan moving forward so that we can be successful in having our staff, our county family prepared and ready to serve the communities that we serve. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the group. They want to come on up, and just so you know, there are 3 strong members of our group. We are missing one, but they've moved on to to another assignment with another agency. So I'll hand it over now.
Thank you, Matt. I'm Diane Galt, and with General Services, the Department of General Services. Thank you guys for coming today. Good morning. And Supervisor Hart and Hartman, and leaders of the county. I want to introduce Katie Torres, Wellness Partner with the Department of Human Resources, and Shayna Burns, Regional Manager with the Department of Behavioral Wellness. Please be advised that our 4th team member, Brian Uhl, formerly of the Office of Emergency Management, is not here today, but he was an integral part of our team, so we thank him. Okay. We all know too well of natural disasters in Santa Barbara County. Debris flows, earthquakes, and destructive fires. But what about the other challenges our county may face? Labor strikes, violence and civil unrest, or cyber attacks. Imagine 45,000 residents are without power, denying them of critical needs such as the use of a respirator or dialysis. Imagine a cyber attack takes down all of our servers, leaving public health without access to their clients' medical records. We can't avoid all of these situations from taking place. However, we can be prepared. Citizens rely on the county to provide critical services, and it's our responsibility to ensure that they receive these services, even under the most extreme circumstances. What is COOP? It's a standardized planning process that includes developing, exercising, implementing, and maintaining a written plan to ensure continuity of operations. A COOP plan provides a roadmap for county leaders and staff to sustain essential services to the community. We want to take a moment to acknowledge many of our county departments many of our departments have a COOP plan. They've developed, they've maintained, and utilized the COOP plan, most recently in the very serious disasters of 2017 and 18. So what is the problem? In 2005, each department was tasked with developing a COOP plan. We have learned that the county is without a completed countywide COOP plan. For those departments that have active plans, many are incomplete, out of date, or have not been deconflicted with each other. The ultimate goal of our project was to examine previous COOP efforts to create an improved, systematized planning process resulting in a high-quality, sustainable COOP program-wide, county-wide program. This project is in alignment with Renew 22 initiative redesign. This effort will also focus on a county-wide culture shift to integrate emergency preparedness into the cultural fabric of the county.
As part of our research process, each team member participated in an online FEMA course entitled Continuity of Operations Awareness. We also conducted 2 separate surveys targeting our county department heads, in addition to 15 outside county emergency managers. The county ICT team was additionally interviewed to gain a better understanding of potential software platforms to integrate all our county COOP plans together. An interview was conducted with the continuity program leader from California Office of Emergency Management, also known as Cal OES, to attain a clear understanding of what a successful COOP planning process should look like. As part of our leadership program, we were also introduced to a variety of process improvement tools, and the 2 we utilized for our project are indicated on the slide before you. As part of our research, the team also developed a survey that was sent to our department heads to provide us insight into their experience of the previous COOP planning process from 2015. As of today, 15 of our 23 departments responded to the survey. We've included the most significant data for your review on the slide before you. Since the data was obtained, it is not conclusive at this stage. We recommend that each department be interviewed to explore the barriers that contributed to the inconsistencies of the county-wide COOP planning process. Interviews were conducted with 15 outside California county emergency managers. Common COOP problem challenges by those emergency managers reported were a lack of buy-in from leadership, absence of work culture to support sufficient emergency preparedness, a lack of adequate guidance during the planning process, and lack of resolve to complete the planning process. In regards to the lack of resolve to complete the planning process, COOP plans were not cross-referenced with one another, and corrective action was not taken to ensure deconfliction. As mentioned, in addition to the surveys and the interviews we conducted, another approach in our research was the application of a widely used process improvement tool called the Fishbone, which we learned during our training in LCP. Through this cause and effect tool, we are able to identify the factors that contributed to the primary problem which we identified earlier.
Okay, so we have 3 primary recommendations we'd like to present to you for this process. The first being to promote the redesign and modernization of an existing COOP planning process, which includes promoting commitment among leadership in the departments, and as mentioned, the culture shifting of the departments to initiate this process. As part of that, departments would need to be provided with proper guidance, training, and support with established timelines that are realistic and flexible. In addition, the training, I should mention, is intended to shift the mentality from traditional management to crisis management. The second recommendation is acquiring an external subject matter expert or consultant to oversee key aspects of the planning process. As part of this, the consultant would provide specialized knowledge and skill to enhance the existing COOP program, establish ways to streamline and standardize the COOP process across all of our departments. And it should be mentioned that it offers a significant financial value to the county, as we would be hiring a temporary consultant versus a full-time employee. The third recommendation is to create and maintain an online content management system, or CMS, that would allow for us to organize all of our resources for each department's COOP to support interdepartmental coordination among departments. This would also allow our leadership the ability to track COOP progress and maintenance, and it would provide remote access to the COOP plans during emergencies, disasters, and disruptions. As you'll see on the slide here, there are two cost options that we'd like to present to you. One is a low-cost option and one is a high-cost estimate. Both of these options or estimates utilize support of a subject matter expert or consultant and specialized training. A detailed description of the costs involved can be found on page 9 in the summary proposal report handout that we've provided to the supervisors. And I want to highlight it's extremely important that both cost estimates are considered as they pale in comparison to hiring a civil service full-time employee to oversee the COOP planning process. As you will also see, the cost differentials are primarily due to the variations of software options. For instance, Bold Planning software is a software that's utilized in many current California counties successfully, as it's developed specifically for COOP planning. So next step, we've broken this down into 3 different phases for how this initiative can be rolled out and implemented. The first is our project execution, acquiring a subject matter expert or consultant, developing our content management system where we would store all COOPs and have templates that would be user-friendly for departmental leadership to follow, form collaborative planning teams among the county, and then hold a kickoff meeting and subsequent workshops to keep people engaged and motivated towards the goal of maintaining their COOP plans. Additionally, develop a county-wide COOP plan draft. So that would be the ultimate goal. Once each department had developed their COOP plan, we would then be able to synthesize that data so that we have a county-wide COOP plan that does not conflict. Phase 2, monitoring and controlling. We would want to analyze those COOP plans, like I said, to ensure that there isn't, to ensure deconfliction, which is a word often used in emergency management. One example is that many of our COOP plans indicate utilizing a facility that other departments have identified as utilizing, so that would overlap. So we'd really want to cross-reference that information to ensure that we are properly prepared. Part of phase 2 as well would be training, testing, and exercising all of our COOP plans, and really bringing our staff into that process so that they understand what the COOP plan entails and how that would actually look in real time when needed. The third phase is review and improve. We'd want to continually review our COOP plans and our processes, and then take corrective action where needed to ensure that the data is synthesized. So our timeline recommendations after the consultant would complete their work is at least 1 year. We think that is realistic from the information we've gathered in our research. Of the 15 county emergency managers interviewed, they all reported that it took about 1 to 3 years to properly implement a countywide COOP. So overall, as you've gathered throughout our presentation, we are proposing a new and innovative way to accomplish a countywide initiative. And really this is through Renew 22 with the redesign concept in particular of consolidating, modernizing, and improving an existing process. And this process is being done through data-driven decision-making, which I think is also key. We feel confident that the COOP planning process can be successfully standardized to promote interdependency amongst our departments through securing sufficient safeguards in advance of future disruptions, disasters, and emergencies. Thank you. We open the floor to questions.
So it seems that what you're saying is because we have tried in the past and haven't been successful, we do need an SME or some outside subject matter expert to give us either the technical knowledge. Who do you see as leading this? In the past, we've had it out of OEM. Is that still, you think, who would be leading this? So you mean Matt Pontus? That's what I wanted to know. Thank you very much.
Those are our behind the scenes thoughts as well.
So that, you know, we're not going to have the consultant do everything, but just help us. You know, we have committed to helping the county and continuing with this, so we will help you too.
Okay. Sure. So similar to what I mentioned, one of the, I would say, the most prevalent issues we encountered in interviewing folks who've been, you know, at the forefront of COOP planning is that each department, you know, referencing siloing, right, has established a plan for if this facility is, you know, unable to be utilized, we would use this other county facility without cross-referencing, right, without checking with that department and other departments to see if they've also identified the same location. So that has caused conflict, if you will. So deconfliction is a term in which you actually look at all of the information and you synthesize and you ensure that there's not any overlap, right? So that it's all in sync, correct? Yeah.
Applied to equipment as well, but mainly
Sure.
was.
Wow, you really don't want to give me this. This is not a good idea. I'm almost there. So in your research, I'm assuming you reached out to other counties and other state agencies. Were there folks that you felt were doing it really well? And if so, what were they doing that were not?
That is an excellent question. And admittedly, Brian Uhl, previously our emergency manager who was part of our team, conducted all of those interviews. And we focused mainly on the challenges that were common themes rather than what was working. But I do know that Kern County has a pretty sufficient COOP planning process countywide. I just don't know the specifics of why that's successful versus the others. We were focused more on, you know, what were the challenges, because none of those emergency managers who were interviewed stated that they had a up-to-date COOP plan countywide, or that each department also had COOP plans similar to ours.
I think that certain counties had parts that they were doing well, excuse me, and others were lacking in certain areas. So I think there was not one shining star among the 15 counties in California.
But that would be important to find out more about.
Employee incentive, yeah. So my understanding. So, our director, HR director, is she had a slight mishap this morning, which has impaired her ability to walk as effectively as she would like to. So she's not here because this would have been the next two presentations that you're going to see she's the sponsor for the group. So in her absence, the deputy chief will come up and she will speak.
Alrighty. So unfortunately, as June said, poor Maria Elena fell this morning. She tripped over the dog. And so she, no, don't laugh. She's in bed. Oh, no. So up next we have the next project is the project introduction. Which part? Where is it? Okay, thank you. The management retention incentive, and we have Ballard, S.E. Ballard, Ryan Casey, Nick Clay, and Paul Clemente. And I'll let you guys speak more to what this project is all about. Whoever is speaking, let the next person do it because the space is too small.
Ballard, you're going to stand over there. Excuse me for, I got a little cold. We teach my kids about sharing, so they shared a cold with me. So good morning, my name is Paul Clemente. I'm the principal analyst in the CEO's office. With me starting on the end, that's S.E. Ballard, Chief Trial Deputy for the Public Defender's Office. We've got Nick Clay, Director of Emergency Medical Services Agency with Public Health, and Ryan Casey, the Supervising Agricultural Biologist in the Ag Commissioner's Office. So today we are updating you on our group project, which was taking a look at the retention incentives that the county offers managers and looking at a variety of options for modifying or changing that program. Just a real quick rundown of our agenda. We're going to be talking about the project background. We're going to be going over the research we've conducted, some options to consider, and then the next steps in our process. So for some background, the management compensation plan is what governs the total benefits, salary and benefits package, and things offered to unrepresented managers and executives. The current form was enacted in December 2016. I believe it was amended last year, but we're talking about the longevity incentive today, which was included in that 2016 adopted plan. The longevity incentive was an attempt to increase retention among managers and executives. What it is a small one-time lump sum that's given to managers at 5, 10, and 15 years of consecutive employment, regular employment with the county. And it's a formula based on percentage of pay, but the maximums each year are $2,500, $5,000, and $6,500 that you get as a lump sum. So the total over 15 years, if you assume that you've received the maximum, each of those 3 steps, works out to about $900 a year that you'd be getting over 15 years. And the first year this was in effect was the 2017-18 fiscal year. So Renew 22, subsequent to the adoption of this plan in 2016, the counties moved forward on the Renew 22 path, and one of the central tenets is the Retain initiative, which suggested plans such as conducting stay interviews, surveying employee engagement, and employee development programs such as the LCP that we're all participating in here. It was developed, like I said, after the management compensation plan, so we thought we'd come in now and look at reevaluating the management compensation plan in light of the Renew 22 commitment. And retention being an important goal, just to give you a little fiscal side is why do we want to retain employees longer and keep them more? The full cost of turnover estimated in a recent report is that 33% of the annual salary of an employee. That's hard and soft costs, the cost to go out and do a new recruitment and training and things, but then the sort of lost time for other employees to come in and do that training, the slower work as they ramp up and learn their new role. That constant turnover has costs, both hard and soft. The median salary for managers in the county is about $125,000. So you're looking at a cost of about $40,000 per position as they turn over. So the first thing we did was we looked at pulling data for the existing longevity program to see if we could discern if it had any impact so far. And just say, you know, we realized that it's only been in effect for 2 years, so it's not a huge sample size, but it's what we had to work on. So we looked at longevity eligible managers before and after the incentive went into effect. And that's managers that had 15 years or less of employment, so someone who would have been eligible to receive that. And we looked at 3 years prior to when it went into effect, turnover among those managers, and then 2 years after the incentive has been in effect. We only looked at voluntary separations. We excluded retirements because that's a person for other reasons. So we really wanted to see the people who were moving on to employment elsewhere. Tried to hone it down to that group. And what you can see on the chart is we really didn't see any discernible impact after that. The red line is when it went into effect, and that's turnover among managers. So definitely no drop in the turnover rate that we've seen in the 2 years since.
Okay, I'm gonna move. Good morning, folks. Before I get started on this, I just want to take 1 minute to thank my team, Paul and Nick and Ryan. They've been fantastic to work with. I learned a lot from all these guys. Thank you so much for your hard work. And thank you to my teammates here in the LCP. It was a fantastic journey, so I just appreciated getting to know all y'all and all the hard work y'all are doing as well. June, I'm gonna move. Are you gonna yell at me? Okay, all right, okay, all right. So we started looking a little bit at research, and we started with comparison counties and some of our sister counties. And what we did is we pulled a sampling of some of their incentive programs that we were interested in and thought the county might be interested in as well. So you can see our pool up here from us, Los Angeles, Santa Cruz, San Diego, SLO, all the way down to Orange. And I just want to highlight a couple of these. The first that I wanted to talk about is actually this vacation cash out, because when we fell on this idea as an incentive program, it was interesting because it could also reduce a liability that we have. We have employees who are carrying 300 or 400 hours of vacation on the books, and that's counted as a liability. Paul taught me that. Thank you, Paul. And taught me that big word. So. But if we utilize this for an incentive where folks can cash out 40 or 80 hours a year for Christmas vacation or a trip that they're taking, that's one little thing that we can do that's going to balance book, also give just an extra little incentive to stay here. We also talked about tuition reimbursement and really how this plays into Renew 22 and tapping into the county's values of continuing to improve the education of our employees and tell them that we're going to assist them in that path that they're taking. So these are some of the highlights here. The Merit Award, that's the last one I wanted to talk about on this slide. This was specifically for management, executive management teams, and it really tapped into folks who were doing stretch goals for their departments. So it allowed them to be creative, to think outside of the box, and to set a very specific goal that could be rewarded by a merit base, usually once a year. This was a once-a-year merit award in these other counties. All right. Cool. So we also looked over to the private industry because we think that while public servants are superior, we also think private industry does a pretty good job. So we pulled a few of our local, not all of these are local, but Patagonia is right down the way. And we looked at some of the things that they're doing to retain their people. And you can see some of their excellent retention rates up here at the top, 96%. 95, 97. These are fantastic numbers and something for us to strive to. The one thing I really wanted to talk about on this slide is I wanted to talk about this concept of promoting authenticity, which also ties into target interviews for values and hiring for values and authenticity. When we started talking about this concept of when we're hiring our people, it's really a two-process analysis. First, you want to talk about why you want to be a county employee and why you want to work for the county. And as we've all seen, this is about public service. And that when I've been in this program with my colleagues here, the one thing I can say about all of us is that we are really interested in wrapping our arms around our own community and bringing it close and making a difference. But then that second level, which is why do you work for your department? How does your department hire for authenticity? Why am I a public defender? Why is Paul the CEO's office? That second level of hiring, I think, could use some tuning up in each department to really understand your value and hire your people for authenticity. Now, y'all have suffered through my accent, so you know I'm from the South. And, you know, Southern people were so simple. So I thought about it like football, okay? Okay? We're just simple people. Like when you get your group together and you realize you all like football, thank you, June. You all like football, right? Who doesn't? You know, got men in tights beating the snot out of each other. It's great. Okay, and you got beer, all good things. So you realize, yes, we're all part of this county. We all love football. But that second layer of who's your team, right? That's when you really get to know someone. Who's your team? They start telling you, well, my team's the Georgia Dogs because I grew up down there and they dominate and those boys know how to play, right? You know something else about who I am. And when you're hiring for authenticity, which these private companies are, they're clearly defining their values. And we can do that as well on the county level. And I think as each department to really define what it is you're looking for in those employees. And that's going to make them stay because they chose the job due to a value, not just money.
It's always unfair following Ballard because she sets the bar so darn high. But I have no accent and I talk fast, so I'll try to slow it down and maybe make up an accent. So essentially, we have three real options to consider. But really, before we even set the options, looking at is our current retention objective in line with what our mission and values are? So as Ballard mentioned, that authenticity piece is what we're doing tied into that authenticity or whatever it is that the county wants to do and move down to. And then equally, it's the financial. So as we look through our three options, obviously there's the first option, which is keep the current program. That's an option to consider, obviously. Then we keep the basic structure, but make some small modifications. And then last but not least is to really stop and rethink about how we're using the program and what is the benefit, and look at defining those high-level managers, those folks we want to retain, and really figuring out how do we start from scratch, where do we go forward next, and what programs we want to implement. So as we dive down into these three options, keeping the current program, it's a known entity, the known financial expense is certainly some things to consider on the positive side, but as we look down to the potential challenges with this program, it falls on each individual department to fund these programs. Equally, it's got a limited impact on retention, as we've already looked at in the data. And as we looked at other entities and other research, money isn't really what's driving folks to stay. You divide these the program incentive up over the course of 5 years, it's a really, really small dollar amount each individual year. And you ask yourself, is $1,000, is $300 going to make me want to stay versus some other thing that talks to my heart and really engages me in my employment? The next option we look at is making some small modifications. Maybe the structure is okay, but the carrot at the end of that line can be changed. The lump sum initiative, as we just talked about, doesn't really drive people to come and stay. And none of the changes really, this modification plan doesn't really change the impact. Costs currently still sit at the department, and the data just really isn't driving that as an option. So then last but not least, looking at challenging that financial incentive with other employee-centered initiatives, really looking to enhance vacation, as Ballard mentioned, that vacation cash out. We do things that are more in line with our family-friendly environment. We are already making progress on commuting options. Are those the things that are going to keep folks here in the long run, or is there other opportunities that we can really pursue to talk to folks hard and engage them? So,
Thanks, Nick. So what are our next steps? Right now, we're going to survey our current managers, and it's a survey that our team developed. The survey will be deployed by Human Resources, and we focus on a few different things in that survey. Management, retention incentives. We ask questions like, what will keep you at the county? Or what could another county offer to make you leave? So right now, we don't have any further recommendations. We want to see what happens with the survey. Our proposed timeline We'd hope that by November, we get the survey out to the managers. December and January, Human Resources develops the proposed modifications to the management compensation plan. And then by spring of 2020, Human Resources will work with the CEO and our Board of Supervisors, approve the plan, make any budgetary needs for the fiscal budget in 2021. By July 1st, 2020, the amendments to the plan would take effect. So in conclusion, Renew 22 has 5 core areas: revisioning, rebalance, redesigning, responding to our residents' needs, and retaining our employees. We focused in on retention. The longevity incentive in the current form may not be having the impact that we need to retain our high-performing employees. There are a variety of options from other counties and private sectors that we looked at. All of them that we looked at all had 95% retention or higher. Our group developed a manager survey for Human Resources to deploy. And our hope is that the county Human Resources will use the research and the upcoming survey results, develop modifications to the management plan, and approve upon it moving forward. Thank you.
No questions.
The reward factors, if for whatever term you want to use, seem to fall into 2 categories. One was sort of cash, and the other was sort of some non-cash, but sort of intangible things like childcare and gyms and those kind of things. And I'm wondering if you were able to form a conclusion about whether one had a greater impact than the other.
Well, I think there's always money attached to everything. So we did not get to a data point where we could show this is the number one retention. And what I hear you saying is almost like a hard sell and a soft sell. Some are more values based, some are more cash based. But even those things such as childcare, that could end up being quite a money ticket item to deploy. I think overall, when we looked at the research, that if you could say a category of retention, it is about valuing the person's authenticity, but also their family life. And when you put those 2 things together, it seemed to kind of be the magic potion there.
Yeah, I'd definitely say a lot of what we found in our research was it's the like cash, like we're going to pay you more or you're going to get a bonus. It wasn't what was really keeping people there. And you know, something I also found was that if you can hire, retention, turnover is often a result of not hiring the right person in the first place. And so that, you know, Ballard's talk on authenticity and values and being able to align that better so everyone knows up front kind of what the expectations are coming in. If those are all better aligned, you're likely, without changing anything, going to see better retention, because when you get turnover in the first year or 2, it could just be because it wasn't the right fit on your end or on the person's end, and there wasn't an understanding going in about what to expect.
I was really intrigued by your discussion of values and looking to private sector companies, and you know, working for the public sector, we have an advantage because we are serving the public. We do have very important values. 2 questions, I think. One is, how do we better recruit people given values? I mean, they do surveys and things, and some of that is kind of nefarious in the private sector. And then could you elaborate a bit more on department values? Because I think we are looking for different skills and probably somewhat different values, and how those all fit together is kind of a puzzle.
Great. Happy to do that. Yeah, we're behind time, aren't we, June? Give me that signal. No, I'm so happy to talk about that. I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about I can talk about that probably best through my own department, my own experience. The public defender's office is a very particular type of job. And to hone in on the right attorney to hire or staff, because everybody needs to be a part of the mission, it's not just attorneys there. I think it starts in that first interview. So it is about connecting with that potential applicant on what it is that drives them to participate in a system that is hard. It is a tough system. It is a tough job. And if we hire an attorney who's looking for just trial experience or who's looking to be able to handle some volume or maybe handle heavy cases, those are all things we need. But really what I need to know is that the value is they want to serve their community, and particularly they want to serve the indigent population. And they want to come into a courtroom and have a fair fight, because that's what it's about. So it's very specific definition of value for that department. And I think what we're missing is not making that connection with the applicant immediately, because what Paul's saying is true. We're losing them at that year mark. And that means we didn't make the right decision the first time we saw the person and started talking to them about the essence of the job that we're doing. The second point I wanted to make about Patagonia, because you talked about the private industry hiring for values, and I had a pretty specific point of data on there that I put on. Patagonia, they have, their mission is about environmental protection. And part of what they do for their employees is they allow their employees 2 months paid if they will go and volunteer for any organization that is environmentally based and that promotes their mission. So it gives the employee a chance to have a different experience, expand on their own values, which is why they're connected to their employer, and go out into a larger community. And I was quite fascinated by that, the idea that your department, whatever value it is, would allow you time to go work at a nonprofit and would support. And so you're making even a bigger input, or bigger footprint. Yeah. And now it's time, June.
You guys did an awesome job. Really great questions, actually. And I think when it comes to, that's something I'm really passionate about when it comes to the culture and the values. I think we're making some steps in the right direction as a county, but with the initiatives that we have and through Renew 22, and really identifying our values, our mission, and what it is that we're about, what we want to accomplish. But as we continue to delve down and drive that down into the departments, and each department really focuses on what matters to them, what they are about, and we connect the dots, again, you'll see at the end of this where the synergy comes into place and all of this comes together. So I think we'll see more of that. The next group, who is our next group? Come on up. Vacation accrual.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for coming. Board of Supervisors, CEO, everyone else, managers, our supervisors. We're excited to be here. This has been a long journey. We didn't quite know what we were getting into. We were kind of told at the beginning it was going to be some classes and maybe a retreat, and it turned into a lot of work, a lot of hours. We've all met quite a bit, and I think the relationships that we've built have been probably the most special piece. We're sorry to miss one of our members, but I can say I've had good conversations with every single one of these people, and I know that those relationships are going to pay us big dividends in the future. So first, I want to introduce my team. So we have Maya Barraza from Human Resources. We have Kevin Thompson, a civil engineer from Public Works, and Ward Kwan from the Auditor's Controller Office. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the overview of what we're going to talk about for the next few minutes. I'm going to give you a little bit background on our project. We're going to talk about the objectives that we set forth for the project. And we're going to talk, Kevin's going to talk a little bit how it ties into the Renew 22, which is a common theme with all the groups and why we're here today. And then we're going to go a little bit into the current obstacles. If there weren't obstacles, we wouldn't be standing here. So there are some things that we can improve upon. Ward's going to go into some statistical stuff and show us some graphs and confuse you guys, and you'll have lots of questions about what color is what and why is that line going higher than the other one. So hopefully you'll be able to, by the end of this, understand the graphs, and then we'll give you our recommendations. So a little bit on the background. So as you guys can see, the County of Santa Barbara offers employees a unique benefit called the Advanced Vacation Accrual. This benefit, when marketed effectively, can entice potential prospects to apply to join the workforce of Santa Barbara County. So as you know, a lot of departments have vacancies. We want to attract, as you heard before, we want to attract the best and we want to retain the best. As part of our preparation and research, our team contacted 9 local counties and learned that this benefit is unique to our Santa Barbara County and 2 other counties. However, the 2 other counties that offer this benefit only offer it to a few select bargaining units, whereas our county offers it to almost all but fire. What makes this benefit attractive to potential employees is that the advanced vacation accrual allows employees who are hired into Santa Barbara County within 6 months of leaving a position in another public agency a higher rate of earning vacation hours. So if you come in from Ventura County as a 10-year employee, when you come into Santa Barbara County, you start earning advanced vacation. You get that 10 years credit. And I know there's people in this room, and I know Kevin was a recipient of this. He's a leader, and he was able to go through the process and actually start with a higher vacation accrual. As you can see, that would be more beneficial than coming in and just losing all of your hours from, you want to make sure that your retirement's safe, that your vacation is safe. So if you're thinking about this great benefit, you're possibly thinking, if this is so great and employees are being incentivized to join our workforce, what is the concern? The concern is not all eligible employees are taking advantage of this opportunity. Therefore, our team set up some objectives during this process to improve this process. Next. So our overarching objective or goal of this was to ensure all eligible employees are provided this benefit at the time of hire and onboarding. We're doing a much better job today than we were 5 years ago of actually getting the benefit, but now we want to take it one step further and get it to them day one when they walk through the door. We promised you this benefit, we're going to get it to you. So a couple things that we're going to review a little bit deeper is to accomplish this. We identified several areas of need. The need to advertise this benefit to the employees, the need to educate employees and employers, and the need to create procedural guidelines for the departmental HRs. Our team wanted to ensure all eligible employees are aware of this benefit. We believe we can increase awareness by adding this benefit to the job description bulletins that are found on the internet and in paper, and by adding standardized language to the job offers. Our team wanted to make sure that the department HRs are aware of this benefit, and current steps are already underway to improve this process. And using a new form that's actually been added to the new hire packet that they go through. We still can improve on this, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Our team wanted to provide some guidelines to department HRs on best practices to deliver the information at the time of onboarding and the steps that are required to put this into the HRIS. And Maya will tell you exactly what that means. There you go. So next, I'm going to pass it controls off to Kevin, and he's going to go through Renew 22 and provide an overview of the current obstacle.
Thank you, Spencer. And thank you guys all for being here. It means a lot to us that you're spending time, with us this morning and supporting us. And I'm going to try my best to do public speaking. I'm a civil engineer, so that's a little bit awkward for me. We don't really have a lot of classes like that in college, so. All right, first slide. So Renew 22, you guys are all very familiar with it. It's a multi-year effort to transform how the county does work. In line with this effort, our team has worked on redesigning and revisioning how the advanced vacation accrual benefit is administered. Doing this is going to help attract high-performance employees, keep them invested when tired, and help reduce turnover. After all, it's benefits like this that helps manifest a reciprocal loyalty, and if administered correctly, can help be one of the driving forces of Renew 22. So next, I'm going to talk about our current obstacles. This might seem surprising, but if the benefit is not advertised and not correctly explained at the time of onboarding by departmental HR staff, then the new hire will likely be unaware of the benefit and to the steps required to take full advantage of it. The second obstacle relates to a fraud preventative measure. It is the employee's responsibility to contact the previous employer and provide verification on the agency's letterhead. Failure to obtain this results in ineligibility. The last obstacle identified is at the tail end of the county's current process. Departmental HR enters relevant data into a database manually. If they don't do this, or if they do it incorrectly, then the benefit is not activated. So we wouldn't be here today if there weren't issues surrounding this topic. As you guys might know, somebody gets hired here and they miss out on the benefit for whatever reason and find out years later, then they're going to want retribution. And past experience has shown that that's done through litigation and employee relations claims, wasting valuable county resources and time, and it's something we want to try and avoid. And it's the exact opposite of the intended goal of this benefit. We're trying to, do something nice to our employees, not make them feel like they got cheated, and result in disgruntlement and lower employee morale. But the good news is that if we really address the obstacles that were previously identified, we can mitigate for these issues. But first, let's talk about the magnitude of what we're up against. We're looking at the county payroll system information. With that, I'll hand it off to Ward.
So how big is this issue that we're looking at? We took a look at the past 10 years of data, and the chart you see is the green bars are all the new hires that have been hired during that year, and the blue indicates those adjustments that were done. So for the adjustments that were done, most of them, and actually all of them in prior years, have all been retroactive adjustments, meaning that employees were hired and the adjustments were done either a week after or a couple years after that they were hired. But what we've seen this year in 2019 is we saw 5 adjustments that were done timely, that were done at the time of hire. What changed this year compared to other years? Well, the Auditor Control's Office, the Human Resource HR, and County Council got together and created an insert that was added to the new hire package, and that has brought awareness to the departments as well as the new hires that there is this incentive out there and they could take advantage of it. We took the same data and for the past 10 years and looked at the departments that were making the adjustments, and we see that the blue represents the same retroactive adjustments, and the red are the ones that were done this year that were timely. And looks like the DA's office is the one doing the best job, 2 of them. Well, what if I told you all that you guys can have additional vacation days? Wouldn't you like to take advantage of that? So on average, the years added to the years of service to those retroactive employees were 9 years. And if we take a different look at the difference between 0 to 2 years of service and the 9 years of service, that's about 56 hours annually that could be added to that new hire, that employee. And the years it took us to make that adjustment has been 7 years. So we found out about it later. Employees qualify for it. We finally adjust their vacation accrual. If we stratify that over the 7 years and the hours they could have earned annually, that's 392 hours, which is about equivalent to 49 days of vacation that they potentially could have had. But we are doing a better job. You see the dotted line where the time period between when they are hired to when the adjustments are being done, we see a big steep drop in the 2019 because of the adjustments that were done timely, and we are seeing a pattern where overall adjustments are done a little sooner.
Thank you, Ward. So I will talk about the recommendations. Being in HR, I have dealt with this personally with employees. So it is actually kind of very near and dear to my heart because I enjoy helping employees and giving them benefits. And these are some hidden benefits buried in the MOU that if they're not aware of, they're going to miss out. So we want to make sure they know. So we've talked about adding language in the job bulletin that you might be eligible for accelerated vacation. It's currently not in the job bulletins. Also adding a checkbox on the application so that you're not just putting a previous job that may or may not have been another government agency. You're actually saying, yes, it was. Add standardized language across the county. Don't want to blow your minds, but there's not standard offer letters in all the departments. So we want to incorporate some standard language so that it's hit on numerous times. We also want to add a signature line to the document that's been added in the new hire packet, saying, yes, I acknowledge I've actually read this, and I acknowledge that I actually need to do my part to get you proof that I have previous agency experience so that you can add it to the HRIS system. We also want to do more talking about it. New employee welcome is a great opportunity. We're starting to bring it up there. We want to make sure that departments are aware of it, so we will be heading out and doing more department trainings on all benefits. Education is a huge thing, and we need to do a better job at it. Also creating internal procedural guidelines for the HR departments. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but, oh, well, they should just know how to do that. We've been doing that forever. And it's like, oh, you sent that email 5 years ago. So it gets lost in translation. So it's really important that we create actual process and procedures for the departments to follow. So the HR person knows exactly what they need to get from the new hire and know where to enter that into the HRA system and make sure that it's getting entered within the first few days of hire. Something really cool for the future would be able to have software to basically go through the application and identify keywords saying, yes, this person has previous agency experience. That's a future goal, but dreams don't come true unless you have them. So that is it for our presentation, and we will open it up to questions.
So thank you. Two quick questions. One, Ward, on the graph. In terms of adjustment period, was there an allowance for verification period? Because not all, when the employee says that they've worked in other public agencies, the HR would have to send letters and the verification, and sometimes that's not exactly Santa Barbara County's fault for the lag time, but it's the corresponding agencies. So that's the first question. And the second question is, what about sick leave accrual time? Was that also tied? Because there's advancement in sick leave time as well, accrual.
I'll speak to the sick leave. Sick leave is only available to certain bargaining units, management, and you can also use the new hire incentive form to add additional sick time. But as far as the basic MOUs that address all county employees, there's no advancement on sick time, just vacation.
And to answer your other question, this, as far as when the adjustment was made, it does not take into account. We just did it from the time they were hired to the date that it was done. So what we're trying to do is get it out front so the employee comes in knowing, so it's on the job bulletin, they see it on the internet. Hey, I was told that I'm going to get advanced vacation. Here's my letter. When they, HR calls them and says, I'm going to meet with you in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Bring in the letter from your employer to get your advanced vacation. What's happening is the employer shows up, the person goes through and gets to page 15 and says, oh, by the way, you're eligible for this. If you want it, get a letter from your employer, some departments are actually sending emails to the other HR departments, which it speeds the process up. But for Kevin's example, he had a letter from his employer and he brought it in and was able to provide that. So people who are a little bit more onto the details are bringing it in, but other ones, 3 months later, we still don't have it, and so it's going to be a 3-month window before it gets added. Then it has to get into the pay period, and so you can see how the 7-year average, and granted, some of them, if you saw that one of the graphs where it looked, I think it was one that they were. Anyways, some of them that are being retroactively, you're seeing a lot more adjustments being made today. Well, a lot of those could be 7, 10, 12, 13, 14 years ago. And some of the disgruntlement came when they set a limit on how many hours you were going to get put back into your bank. You know you have a 500 max and you're owed 400 hours. You're not going to be able to get all of those, so there was some disgruntlement on that. So hopefully that answers.
For those coming outside of the county, there's reciprocity, and so there's the accrual time in another county. Is there any connection between what HR does and the SB SERS? Because that would take that into account and solve that problem right away.
There's not. There should be, but so part of the new hire. Yeah. Part of the new hire packet does have the reciprocity form for retirement, saying you can get additional service credit for that. So you should be an indication to the person onboarding to say, oh, look, they have previous agency experience. They probably could also get vacation, but that's not happening. So I think we need to do a better job of not just educating our HR departments, but also our management and supervisors, and they need to be more involved in the benefit that their employees are eligible for. So it's just going to be more communication. And I mean, I don't want to put more on Greg's plate, but maybe they could remember to call us and remind us that there's vacation accrual because they submitted the reciprocity form.
To process reciprocity. SB Source can certainly help with this. And in fact, there's ways you can probably already see in the pay system that someone has reciprocity because their age contribution date for the retirement contributions will be less than the age that they started employment with the county. But the challenge with this is I think you extend reciprocity to, for example, federal and out-of-state agencies, and SB Source does not extend reciprocity to agencies out of state. So we really only work with CalPERS and the large state systems. We don't even offer reciprocity with CSB, which is probably one of our larger exchange agencies that we trade employees with. But we can certainly help with that process, and when we're onboarding, we're in there, and we can definitely help with verification. Something that we're doing as an industry group is, and this is being led by CalPERS, is they're actually putting all of this online now. So that will greatly speed up our reciprocity process because we'll just be able to go look up an employee on a website and see that they have prior service with CalPERS agency, which I guess will probably cover 80% of your reciprocals or so. So it's a good question though.
So I just want to congratulate you and thank you for bringing this up. And I want, for all the presentations, it's difficult, and for your managers and your departments, because it's difficult for us to see ourselves and the extent of some of the problems that we have, and to say, you know what, this is a problem, we need to address it. So I want to thank you and all the good data you've put together. And and just to address Greg, he's a good guy, but it's really not their responsibility to look at our vacation accrual issue. But thank you, Greg. You're trying to be tactful at that, and I appreciate that. And when we look at this data, this is it's ridiculous that we're that bad. And so as we're going on, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit about, I'm thinking, why is this the case? Why is it the case? I've never been in a public agency where we had this issue. So why is that the case? And we're going through a study. KPMG, as you know, is doing management reviews of all the departments, and they're doing HR and general services. They did my office. And the only thing I can think of is that we're so decentralized, and you all are shaking your head. I want to hear from you, is that we're so decentralized that we don't have a standard procedure, a standard that we've, through the years, have this decentralization of some of our core services, and this is the result. And that's, I don't know, I want to see if that's your observation as well.
So prior to coming to government, I was in private sector for Countrywide and Kinko's. Both no longer exist. I don't know what that tells you. But then I joined government, totally different, but I've gotten some experience in different industries, and then also started at Be Well, the department level, which is where I learned a lot about these little things that should be happening that aren't anymore. And that is the case. I think it's just, and this is not a diss on county HR, it's just a lot of it's been just being really short-staffed. We're still very short-staffed compared to our sister counties. We've not been able to really get out there and partner more with our departments and work closely with them. And they're an extension of everything we do, and they're an extension of what we do. And we need to collaborate and definitely get out of the silos. I see it all the time, and I'm just like, oh God, it drives me crazy. So yeah, that's a big part of it. And one thing I do want to mention is the timeline to get this implemented is yesterday. So we will be working with Joe Pisano on implementing our recommendations as soon as possible, because another employee just found out on her last day leaving that she could have gotten vacation credits, and she found that out on her last day. So it continues to be a problem, and we want to get in front of it.
Yeah, I think definitely the silos and the centralization definitely creates a lot of that. Even through this process of just identifying the data and seeing, hey, whose responsibility is that? Is it up to the employee? Is it up to the department itself or central HR? Is it payroll that does it? So even that communication, just understanding ourselves, whose responsibility is it to bring it all up? We didn't even have that.
And I would just like to end on a positive note. If you look, the numbers in the last 4 years are going up. The adjustments are going up. And then the red, we've had 5 that have in the last few months that have been done at the time of onboarding. So just the little work that we've done already has kind of spread. So I think if we continue with this process in HR, Maya's going to continue to look at this. I think we're going to continue to see an extreme uptick in this.
Thank you guys so much. Great questions, great responses, and we are doing a lot of things, I think, already. The CEO has mentioned in terms of the KPMG, we are looking at different processes across the county. The redesign aspect as well, when we're looking at our business processes. I was telling Matt, business continuity doesn't just relate to emergency operations, it also relates to business processes and procedures being consistent across departments. So that's a work in progress. But thank you all so much for your presentations. Give yourself a hand. Okay. Now what I would like to do before we take a break, on our agenda, I want to give Supervisor Hartman an opportunity to speak. We will then move to Supervisor Hart, our CEO. We'll take a quick break, about 5 minutes break, and then we'll return and wrap up. So Supervisor Hartman.
I am so impressed by what I've seen here today. As a supervisor sitting on the 4th floor, we meet with the department heads every month. But because there is kind of a chain of command, if we wander around and just talk to employees, people get a little nervous. So it's wonderful to see firsthand the work that you're doing. I am a huge fan of Renew 2022 because it's how we're learning and adapting for a new world. And now the capacities that you're developing in this leadership program, working across silos, identifying problems, being team members, bringing forward solutions. We're creating the learning process internally that's going to keep us adaptive going forward. I wanted to just start out with a quote from Charles Darwin. It's neither the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And that's this process that you're engaged in is teaching us as an organization how to be more responsive to change. And at the local government, we're seeing so many different changes. The technology, the unsustainable tax and cost structures that we have to live under, the political polarization, the demographic shifts and how we have to adapt to bring in and be attractive to new young people and diversity of our workforce, the kinds of environmental disruptions that we're seeing. So bureaucracies are more designed for a static world, and we're having to now be much more adaptive to these kinds of changes that I've just talked about. And we're doing it at a time where trust in institutions across the board is plummeting. And it's not just government institutions, but the media, science, schools. Across the board, we don't even trust each other as much. 20 years ago, 2/3 of people trusted each other. Today, it's only 1/3. So when that happens, people kind of retreat, and it's hard to work for common goals together, which is what local government is all about. However, recent indicators are that people still have trust in local government. About 74% of people still say we sort of trust our local government. So that is, for us, a sacred duty, a sacred responsibility to maintain that, because we need to hold that and then build out for that to keep our society together, to not fall apart at the seams. There are some, I think, really important ways that I've heard you talk about today that we do this. And first and foremost is, everybody's been mentioning this, but we have to work across the silos. We can't just say, I get, people come to me a lot and my staff saying, we want you to fix the schools. We want you to have a crossing guard or we want you to fix the state highway. And it's really tricky because you can't just say, well, it's not my department, it's not my jurisdiction. That's the last refuge where people that builds distrust. So you've got to come up with connecting people to the right resources, even if it isn't what you actually do. So the other thing, in addition to working across silos, that I think is kind of an overarching value that we have to have, is to stay open, to stay flexible, to stay responsive, to not be hardened down into our way of doing things. And this is a quote from Alvin Toffler. "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read or write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And that's what we've seen you all doing today, is kind of looking at how we do it, how we've done it in the past, interacting with each other, figuring out how we might do it better, and bringing those suggestions forward. So that is, I mean, it's just extraordinary, and I'm so proud. There are some key components that I think are important for all of us as we think about county government going forward. And one really important thing for us, how do we protect our communities? How do we keep them safe? Well, we have to be the ones who are anticipating the future. We can't just be wedded to the way things are today, as comfortable as that might be. I have a horse. His name is Fishbone. He's the love of my life. And the other horses are sitting there grazing and quiet and comfortable. He's always looking. His ears are pricked. He's anticipating. And I love to go out riding with him because he's the same way. He's not just plodding along. If there's a tree branch that's new, he sees it. And so he keeps me thinking and alive, and I love that. But that's really our duty, isn't it? To be anticipating what's in the future. and how we can protect our communities. So that's a really important aspect of it. The other thing is we talk a lot about stakeholders, and that's an important concept. It's better than kings and subjects or something, but I think where we really need to go in the way that I saw you working with each other, but also the way we work with the people we serve, is converting stakeholders into partners. That we have a little piece of the truth, and if we can figure out processes and ways to bring it together, all of us is smarter than one of us. And so that idea of, I don't like the idea of stakeholder, I like the idea of partner, and the kind of respect that entails. The other thing is that it's not, learning how to do things is a lot more important than knowing how to do it. That is, keeping that open mind and receptivity going forward. And then just a couple more of these as I was thinking about it, and especially in light of what you had to say about values and the public sector. What do we want most in life? What do any of us want most in life? We want meaning. We want to know why we're here. What's our purpose? How do we live our lives so that we can, at the end of it, what was it all about? And so creating meaning in what we do, whether it be for the county or departments, what is our purpose? And I think that's something that we get in dialogue, but it's also something we often look to the arts, to literature, to narratives, to stories, to share that. And we discover meaning together. So that's, it's not just facts, it's not just being a bureaucrat, it's really using, I had an interesting experience. Vaughn and I were on the SENCAL board, and they now are creating materials that are graphic novels to teach about healthcare. In this case, it was vaccinations, and but we got to get more creative about how we use arts and stories to communicate, because obviously sometimes we're not doing that as effectively as we can. And then we need to invest. I've worked for government most of my life, for federal and state agencies, and so I have quite an allegiance. But local government is, to me, the most satisfying, because we're really working one-on-one with people. And it's where all the policies that are set in DC and all the policies set in Sacramento, we're the ones who see how it works in real people's lives. And I find that to be really gratifying, and there's nothing abstract. It's immediate and you can see it. But the government agencies I've worked for in the past, there was never much investment in me and what do you want in your life? How do you want to grow? And courses available. So what I saw today was something very, very different and very exciting, to be investing in you as leaders. And before I went to government, I was a teacher, and I have to go to UCSB, and I was there yesterday, and I got to teach some classes. And there's really nothing as gratifying as being able to invest in the future and think, well, something I might say will carry forward. Something I've learned I can share, and it might be worth something to somebody else. And so that's what this leadership program was about, and what I find so extremely exciting about it. The last thing, and this is sometimes a test, but I think all of us have to be optimistic about the future. We have to kind of take heart from each other, because, who wants to join a team that's just down and out? I mean, there are many challenges in our world, but we have to see the silver linings, and we have to be able to communicate that, because that's what inspires, and that's what carries us forward. So I'll just leave you with that I am so proud to be a member of the Santa Barbara County team, and thanks for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Hartman, for those comments and your support of this program. Next, we want to hear from our Vice Supervisor, Supervisor Hart, the Vice Chair.
Well, I always appreciate following Joan. She is so enthusiastic and visionary, you know, and really thoughtful remarks that she prepares and thinks about. But really why I like to follow Joan today in particular is because every Tuesday when we're on the dais and it comes to time to vote, I am always super stressed as to whether they're going to call Hart or Hartman first. So this time I knew that Joan was ahead of me. I want to appreciate the folks who planned this event. And first of all, it's been really fabulous to hear all the great work that you're doing. But the thoughtfulness of this venue is really important to this event because I don't know if you know, this is one of the oldest buildings in the city of Santa Barbara. It was actually built in 1817, and it wasn't built here. It was built 2 blocks away. This is the Covarrubias Adobe, and moved here in 1836. It has had a lot of evolutions in its history. It was an antique shop. It was a nightclub, a restaurant. In World War II, it was the British War Relief Society. So this building has evolved and innovated, and just like the city of Santa Barbara, just like our community, and just like we are trying to do as an organization. And it's important to recognize that we can respect history and have really deep-rooted community values that are historical in nature, but evolve and adapt those to a changing world. And that's exactly what you're doing. That's why Renew 22 is really important. Our community has those deep-seated values, you know, respect for tradition and history and previous generations of contributions. This community is not an accident. This isn't one of those places that's grown up quickly without a lot of thoughtfulness. This is a multi-generational investment that is really critical to protect and to enhance and to improve. And it is our responsibility at this point in time to do that work. And you are doing it really, really well. I just have a couple of observations about what you're doing and in relation to my very long public service career. A couple of times it's been talked about silos. And I think that is so important because like Joan, I have worked in various different government agencies and most recently came from the city of Santa Barbara here to the county. And I do notice that there are silos between the city organizations, the nonprofit communities, the county of Santa Barbara, and within the county of Santa Barbara. And one of the things that I think is so important about what this is going on with today with the Leadership Certificate Program is that you're mingling departments and you're getting that cross-pollination of interest and experience and knowledge. And this is a great model for organizational management for the county, for all of our partners in government too, with the nonprofit sector as well. We need to figure out ways to bring people together more often, to have that kind of creativity and this cross-disciplinary effort. So thank you for doing that here. Let's try and replicate that more. And kind of related to this too as well, and Joan touched on this, something that I really tried to embrace when I was working at the Santa Barbara County Association of Governments is to stop using the acronyms. It is so easy to fall into that pattern, and we all work in very detailed, fine-grained programs, and the dollars come specifically with restrictions, and they have programs behind that, and we start to talk in technical jargon that it makes sense within our very small world, but frankly makes no sense to anybody else that's in regular life. The public doesn't understand this. It is, frankly, a shield that prevents the public from understanding what we're talking about. And it doesn't actually take any more time to say the words that what you're trying to say rather than using the acronyms. So just something that will help us all in working with other agencies, with other departments, with the community, something that will make us more transparent and more powerful is just as simple as trying to not use that technical language on a regular basis. So one thing I always notice when Joan speaks and when Mona speaks is that they both have wonderful quotes that they use as part of their thing. And I don't do that very much because I can't remember things. But one thing that I do every day, I don't know if you all have had Good Earth tea, but they actually have a little quote on every single tea bag. And so I've been trying to read more of the quotes. And ironically, this one sort of fits today. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. Stephen Jobs said that, and I know you all have a very strong inner voice. You have a commitment to public service. You have a commitment to our community. Listen to that voice. Keep doing your work with passion, and let's all have fun and make incredible work together. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Hart. Really appreciate that. It's handy. I'm a tea lover as well. That is a handy thing to do. Okay. All right. So now we want to hear from our CEO, Mona Miyasato. You want to take a break and come back? Okay. So she's going to have you take a break, and we'll come back, and then we'll begin with her and move on to her. All right? Okay. Mine too. Awesome. All right, so what we're going to do, we're in the last leg of this presentation. I now want to introduce to you our CEO, Mona Miyasato, who's going to give a few words. I also want you to know that she's going to have to leave a little early, so she'll be leaving right after. And so we're going to tag team some other leaders to help us with the award, and Supervisor Hart will help us as much as he can as well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody. Unlike June, who is very agile, I did prepare something, but I'm not going to use it because I've been so impressed today with all the work you've done. And I'm going to speak of, excuse me for the rest of the, I'm going to really speak to those folks who've been in the leadership program. That's what the speech is about. So a couple of things. I don't know if you realize what the real reason is for this program. You may think you do. And some of the outcomes or the measurements that June talked about, those are definitely things we're looking at. But the real purpose of it, and I can tell that we've been successful from just what you've done today and looking around the room, is to accelerate your own maturity and growth as a leader. Because I really believe that everyone has leadership ability within them. It's really, what does it take for that to become part of who you are? And that's practice, and it's tough, and it's showing vulnerability, and it's revealing who you are. And what they don't really talk about in these leadership courses in general is that you have to understand who you are at the core. Because for you to emanate the things that people will be attracted to, you have to understand for yourself who you really are. And it's a journey. So June asked me to talk about leading through influence. You know, I have the privilege of being the CEO. So on the org chart, you know, below the Board of Supervisors, who are below the residents. Everyone's got a boss. I'm privileged to have that box. And I'm privileged to have under that box my very talented assistant CEOs and deputy CEOs and all the folks in my departments and all the department heads. I'm privileged to have that. And that gives me ability to change systems. It gives me an ability to guide work. It gives me ability to direct work, all of those things. But my real power is through influence. And influence isn't using authority to make people do what you want them to do. It is motivating them to do what needs to be done. So you've been through this program. We've given you skills and information and practice, and you've done an outstanding job in demonstrating your communication skill, your analytical skill, your working together, your ability to talk about some of the tough issues, come to with recommendations. Those are valuable. In addition to that, seems like you've all come into your own in a way. I know you've had, we've had coaches, you've had mentors, you had the synergy among you. So I hope that the one thing you take away from all of this is reflecting back who you were when you first started this program, when we were at the university club. Maybe you didn't know what was really gonna be in store for you. No one did. You went through the bumps in the road and through this program and the curriculum changes and all of that. But more than that, you think back what you were like then. What have you learned? And what have you learned about yourself? Because that's really the key of leadership, is learning about yourself. And no one really, and so when I talk about this program accelerating that learning, for those in this audience who've been in the public sector or have worked for many years, If we didn't have that kind of nurturing and training, we had to learn the hard way. Or it took us 10, 15, 20 years, and they're all shaking their heads, of learning that the hard way. And this program is to accelerate that learning of who you are. So 3 things I'd like to leave you with as you talk about your leadership journey. One is that it's not about you, but it starts with you. It's not about you, but it starts with you. So, the other thing that Einstein said, to hold 2 contrary thoughts at one time causes insanity or something like that. Well, that's what management leadership is about as well. So you're right when you said my department head's crazy. So what I mean, it's not about you, but it starts with you. Well, it's not about you because what we're doing in this practice of public service, or in anything that you do, and Joan talked about it and Greg talked about it, we are actually, when I said doing what's needed to be done, it's serving the public in whatever capacity all of us do that. It's the higher calling. It's our purpose. It's what gives us meaning. And for some people, public defender's office, it's very real. They have clients, they have outcomes. For some of us, it's not. Maya, in the benefits world, it may not be as clear, but it's as important. So when I say it's not about you, remember that the work you do, it's in service of something else, something greater than yourself. But it starts with you, because your power to influence starts with you. It starts with the kind of person you are. It's about social and emotional intelligence. It's about understanding the context in which you work. It's about how you relate to people. All of that, right? So it starts with you and the presence that you bring in any situation. So remember that. Second thing is that we have an ability to communicate and engage with people. And I think about probably in 20, 30 years, we may look back on this generation, our generation, say that because if everything becomes through artificial intelligence, we may be all automated. Seriously. So we have this ability to communicate and engage with people on a one-to-one basis, understanding them, working with them. And that's what communication really is about. So leadership isn't just about leading, motivating others. It's about following others. It's about following other ways of doing things. It's about opening your mind and your heart to what other people are saying to you, taking that in. So it's about leadership. It's also about followership, seeing that you have followership, that you look behind you and there are people behind you. Because if you're not a leader. But also that you're actually in service and following others. And the most helpful thing to me that I learned late in my career was the way to achieve that, and then Nick mentioned it a couple of times, it's through people's hearts. What gives people heart and meaning in their jobs, in their lives? And if you can relate to them and what that is, you've kind of won the battle. Look at the problem from their perspective. What is really touching their heart? What gives them meaning? And work with them at that level, if you can. The third thing is that part of this work that you're going to be doing, whether the existing work that you are now or throughout your career, is to have compassion. And we don't really talk about that. And compassion to me doesn't mean feeling sorry for someone. It doesn't mean even agreeing with them. And it certainly doesn't mean giving in to them. It means having empathy, understanding their position, but most of all, in the day-to-day work we do, to me, it means cutting people a break. Truly believing first that everyone is doing the best that they can. Truly believing everyone is doing the best that they can. And that means people in the community too. People who are maybe angry and fighting. We live in a difficult time right now, and Joan talked about that. There's some ugliness. There's some small-mindedness. There's a lot of conflict. Take a step back, have some compassion for them as well. I mean, I saw this this Zen master, Roshi, and I can't remember her name, and she was at one of the arts and lectures talks, and people had to talk about the president, and she just said, I think it's hard to be him. But more than that, what I want you to remember is to have compassion for yourself. So what do I mean by that? You're going to go through this journey. You expose some of yourself, or you showed some vulnerability. That's how you get better today. We did as an organization, things that we're not good at that we want to improve. And on an individual level, you've done that as well, I'm assuming, through this process. And you're not always going to be hitting the grade. You're going to be judged. You're going to be criticized. Your supervisor is going to come into you some days and say, shouldn't have done that, or you should have done that, or you could have done it differently, or you yourself may say, I should have had a different interaction. You're going to be hard on yourself. So give yourself some compassion as well, because we are all works in progress. Everyone in this room. And what connects us as individuals, as human beings, is that we're all works in progress. No one is perfect. And we know that, but we don't know that. So we're all works in progress, and you in this leadership journey, it is a journey. So on this journey, just remember, getting to the top of the mountain isn't what you're doing. The climb is what you're doing. And it's important for you to take others with you on the climb. That's what this program has been about. Thank you.
Wow. That was inspiring. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate, it's inspiring, and I appreciate the comments, because some of the things that Mona talked about when we actually wrap up, and some of the things that I'm going to read to you when we talk about, the places you will go. When she talks about some of the lumps, the bumps, the criticisms, and different things that happen, understanding yourself. Yes, there was a lot of that in this program about self-awareness and emotional intelligence. So we did spend some time on that, and we will continue to do so. So thank you so much again for your support. So I know that Mona needs to take off. So 11:30? Okay. So what I want to do, I want you to stay. You have 5 minutes. I want Nick to come up, and I want Nick to talk about the awards, how we came up with this. Diana, could you get me one of those awards? No, don't worry about the gloves. We handle these with gloves. We handle them with gloves because our fingerprints get on them, and so we're trying to just keep them nice and clean. And it may be a little difficult for you to see this award, but hold it up so maybe everyone can see it. But the design on this award, in terms of the puzzle pieces, is something that Nick came up with. And when I talked about synergy, and I talked about connection, and I talked about, working together as a county, this is what it represented. And so he pitched the idea to his cohorts, and so I want you to hear from his heart in terms of how that came into existence, and then we came together and pull it all together. So Nick, you've got 5 minutes.
Thank you, June. I am hopped up on coffee, and as I say, I talk fast, so I will make it 4 minutes. June's not short on challenges, as she mentioned earlier, and when she asked me to speak, she did not tell me I'd be following our county leadership, so I hope I can hit the bar. So at the kickoff meeting, we weren't only introduced to each other, to our mentors and the leaders in the county, but we were introduced to the challenge that laid ahead of us. We are the first cohort to complete this journey, and it's never easy being stepping into the fray and stepping into the unknown. So as the program approached, I found myself asking, what is this work investment going to be like? How much time and energy do I have to put into this? What am I going to learn? How am I going to apply what I've learned? And more importantly, who the heck are these 11 other people that we're going to be with together? I can tell you the answer to the last question is incredibly easy. This cohort is the future of the county. It is an inspiring group of dedicated, bright, motivated county employees who refuse to settle for good enough. And that has been clear since day one. So during the kickoff meeting, June and Leonie described the program, the county leadership outlined the hurdles we're going to face, and the challenges became very, very palpable. But it was also clear we would grow from the experience. We would apply our newly acquired information in our day-to-day lives, and we embarked on this unique version of our program. We came back to the classroom week after week after week. We settled into a rhythm. Personalities emerged, and conversations grew from this general "how are you" to really deep conversations to get to know one another a lot better, and really forge some very meaningful relationships. We developed professional connections that may not have been realized otherwise. So had we not had this program, we may not have developed these connections. And more importantly, at least to me, we've developed some friendships that when I speak for myself at least, I'm sure I speak for all of us, we hope to continue after this program is completed. So now back to that initial meeting, when we were asked to write down by June and Leonie a word on a 3x5 index card. And that word would be our lighthouse. It would be our guidance, a reminder that when times got tough, look back at that word and remember why we're doing this program and keep us on target. These words became the foundation for the end of our program momentum. So as you mentioned, it is a puzzle piece, and it's this group who inspired that idea. And it was clear we needed something physical, a visual reminder that at the end of the journey, in the years to come, as we hit these challenges in our careers, we could look back and see, geez, what is it guiding us, guiding our community and our colleagues? So what will it look like? How do we put this all together, and how do we represent this very diverse group with various backgrounds? And ultimately, it was pretty simple. It was the lessons we were learning, the relationships we were developing and grooming, and the leaders we are becoming. It was all part of this bigger county picture. And what better way to represent a big county picture with a bunch of different pieces than a puzzle? So each puzzle piece is unique, and by itself, it is very, very valuable. But when the pieces come together, they form a picture. Each of the pieces in this memento is individual, and it's engraved with the words from that very first day. Transform, experience, inspire, discipline, innovative, learn, perseverance, resilient, intention, breakthrough, growth, and opportunity. These are the puzzle pieces that represent this cohort and your county's future leadership. These pieces tell the story of the next chapter. When brought together, they represent one county and one future. So thank you, June, for this opportunity. And last, I will leave you with a quote, as everyone else has left me before. Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. That's from Andrew. Thank you very much.
I love it. Leonie said to me a couple of times, they were doing a presentation. There was one when Director Vaughn did her facilitation in her session. They were talking, and I was just like, oh my God, these guys are so awesome. They're so awesome. Then there was another time where they were doing their presentation skills, and I was sitting off to the side just watching them, and I'm just smiling. And Leonie said, you act like a proud mom. And I really am. So now we're coming to the point where we're going to do the awards. And so I would like Supervisor Hart. I know that Mona and Terry has to leave. So Matt and Jeff, could you assist as well? Do I have another assistant? See you. We need a department head? I'm sorry, who am I looking? Jeanette, okay. So you're right. So Leonie is going to actually call the names of the participants. Fortunately for us, we don't have them there. Actually, I'm missing someone. Barney, why don't you get up there as well? We'll just have it, because I don't want to omit any of the assistants. Come on, Barney, because we need a public service. And then, you don't want to do it? Aren't we in partnership? Oh my gosh. So, okay, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. That's important to me. Vaughn. Come on. And so what's going to happen? Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do is Leonie's going to call the names, And I will also assist in handing the awards as well. And then the individual will come up. You will hand the award to the individual or to Jeff. How do you want to do this? Okay, pass it on. Okay. I like to leave her to think about what she wants to do. So you can pass it to them. And then you guys just come up and just shake their hands, each and every one of them, being congratulated by them. Huh? Yeah. What were you guys saying? How do Yep.
Okay, first up we have Diane Galls from General Services. Share them all. Next, we have Katie Torres from the Human Resources Department. Up next, Shayna Byrne from Be Well Department. Up next, Maya Baraza, Human Resources Department. Spencer Cross, Probation Department. S.E. Ballard, Public Defender. Up next, we have Nick Clay, Public Health Department. Kevin Thompson, Public Works. Ryan Casey, the Ag Commissioner. Ward Kwan, Auditor Controller. And last but by no means least, we have Paul Clementi, the CEO Department, CEO Office.
Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you. Let's give them all a hand again. All right, so we are in the final throes, and I'm going to wrap this up. Pass me that. And because this is going to be easier for me doing it this way. So, thank you all so much again for your participation and your support. And to those of you at LCP cohort number 1, you rock. You guys are really awesome, and I hope you know that. I hope you know from the bottom of my heart. I really mean that, so thank you. So as we get ready to close, we have on the graduation on the program, it says, "Oh, the Places You Will Go" by Dr. Seuss. You also see when we came in, if you saw the loop photos, Diana was very creative. She did an awesome job in terms of putting together LCP moments, and she put the Dr. Seuss, elements of Dr. Seuss in that. And so the reason why that's important to me and why I'm going to end with that is because when I turned 40 years old, I had a mentor who is now deceased. And he was just a phenomenal guy. He was, at the time, he was my assistant department director when I was in the neighborhood services department at the city of Phoenix. He then rose to eventually become an assistant city manager. I'm sorry, a deputy city manager. But he passed away in 2013. For me, it was too young. But he left a lot in me, and he believed in me, and he saw things in me that I never really saw in myself, right? So he gave me this book when I turned 40. 7 years later, another CEO that I worked for in another organization, when I was leaving, actually gave me the same book. And then in the very back of the book, he wrote some very wonderful comments. And so I thought, wow. And then I loved the book so much, I said, well, I'm going to go get it in Spanish. Do I even have a Spanish version of the book? Because I was trying to practice my Spanish at the time. I haven't progressed much, but Diane is helping me out, you know? So I want to go through this, and I will read this very quickly. We won't be here long, but I want to end with this because I think it's important. So let's go. Dr. Seuss. Oh, the Places You Will Go by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You have brains in your head. You have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself any way you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy and the gal who can decide where you go. You look up and down the streets, you look them over with care, and some you'll say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down just any not so good street. And you may not find any you'll want to go down. And in that case, of course, you'll head straight out of town. It's open out here in the wide open air. Out there, things can happen and frequently do, and people as brainy and footsy as you. And when things start to happen, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along. It will start happening to you too. Oh, the places you will go. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers, and you'll soar with great heights. Because I see you as emerging leaders of this county, and so therefore you will lead eventually when people like me get out of your way. You won't lag behind. You'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang, and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. And I do expect that. Wherever you go, you'll top all the rest. Except when you don't, and because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on and leave you in a lurch. That happens to leaders sometimes. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in much fun because unslumping yourself is not easily done. You will come to a place where the streets are not marked. Some windows are lighted, but mostly they're dark. A place where you come to a place where you could sprain both elbow and chin. Do you dare stay out, or do you dare go in? How much can you lose? How much can you win? And if you go in, should you turn left or right and 3/4, or maybe not quite, or go around back and sneak in from behind? Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind maker upper to make up his or her mind. You can get so confused that you'll start into the race down long, windly roads at a break-necking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, towards a most useless place, the waiting place. You see, because that's what happens sometimes when the baby boomers have not quite gone and you are waiting just for the succession development. But don't worry, it's coming. For people waiting for a train to go, or waiting for a bus to come, or waiting for a plane to go, or waiting for the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or wait for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or waiting for a pot to boil, or waiting for a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, another chance. Everyone just waiting. No, that's not for you. somehow you'll escape. And that's waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. With the banner flipping and flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky, because that's what I expect from you. Ready because you are that kind of girl or guy. Oh, the places you will go. There is fun to be done. There's points to be scored. There are games to be won. And the magical things can be done with that ball. You will make the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be the famous that you can be in the whole wide world watching you to win on TV. And that may happen to some of you too. Except when you don't. Because sometimes you won't. I'm afraid sometimes you'll play lonely games too. Games that you can't win because you'll play against you. And don't forget that. That sometimes is the most difficult thing for a leader is when you're playing against yourself. All alone, whether you like it or not, alone with something, you'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But you will go up through the weather be foul, and you will go on through though your enemies prowl and they criticize you and they talk about you just like the CEO just mentioned. And on you will go through the hack and cracks cow. I don't even know what a hack and crack is. Onward, upward, many frightening creek, though your arms may get sore and your sneakers may leak. And on you will hike, and I know that you will hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, and you'll already know you'll get mixed up with some strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot from your left. And you will succeed. Yes, you will indeed. And this is for Paul. 98.75% guaranteed. I had some numbers in there, Paul, some numbers. But here's where we land. So, be your name, Paul, Ward, Ryan, Kevin, Nick, Spencer, Maya, Shayna, Katie, or Diane. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting, so get on your way. Congratulations. Thank you guys so much again for your support. We could not have done this without you. Please take the time to just again look at the walls, talk to the participants about what they've learned. Some of them did some designs outside. That is some of the things that you see in the designs that they did is based on the holistic aspect of that we have to deal with stress and mindfulness and other things. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to serve.